And obviously we're missing Augie today. He's shoveling snow around his garage, but we're thinking of him. No, he's working. But anyway, I'm going to get into sharing my screen here, and here we go. And what we're going to do today is a very interesting day, actually. We're going to talk about contours. We touched base on it the other day, how to build a contour. We'll go through that again. I'm going to import a survey that you can request from the homeowner, which is invaluable to you, really. It saves you measuring by hand, and it gives you the elevations that you're going to be addressing when you pull onto the site. So it's invaluable information, and it's stuff that can be done, downloaded instantly, file import. We'll go through that. But what's interesting today is I'm going to show you what these contours really mean when you're bidding, and how it relates to dollars. It's kind of an interesting correlation there. So we'll jump into that. But before we do, I'm going to show you some photographs of part of the slides that we'll be discussing today. And one of them is when we get into the U level, I'm going to show you pictures like this. If I can pull this out of the way and just a rough picture. When I use the U level, I actually, and this is the U level here. It's a reddish box to match our corporate colors, luckily. And what you're going to see here are cones, and I mark these as stations, and I send my drone up to capture the land. And we will get into what I do with those pictures. So that's one thing we're going to be looking at in depth. And the other thing is, I have to keep moving this. There's a good looking Irish guy there. And this is the area that I'm going to concentrate on. I want you to notice before we start, there is a swale here that comes into play. And I'm now assuming that my client in this luxury dwelling here wants a patio. And that's where the cones are set out in this area. And what does this mean to me as a contractor when I'm going to now present my design and you know, get something that I can measure and quantify. And it actually is an eye-opener for me how complicated land is, the results of digging. If I dig in one place, what am I doing with the water path? Do we need to put in drainage systems? So it really is a great learning experience going out doing this stuff, because it makes you a better contractor. It makes you a more successful contractor because you price it correctly. And also I'm going to discuss how I present it. You know, if I'm on a project like this and I tell my client, you know, you might have a bid in here for like 28,000 and I might be 34, and I can address topics such as water buildup, putting in a swale, reswaling. Elevations tell us this. So it's not a flippant bid by just looking at a 2D plan and measuring by the square foot and pricing by the square foot. It's not. It's an in-depth analysis of what soil does to our bid. So we'll come back to that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the contouring, and we're going to look at how we can build a contour. And I'm going to open up the program. Bit slow. There's a lot of stuff on my screens here. So just zoom in a little bit. Come on, be nice, be nice. File. Right. We were talking the other day, and we discussed all these in length, and you know, reiterating that the area grader is the ticket out of most, if not all, situations for me. But I start with slopes, I use area grader, and contours. You can combine all three of them. You can have a slope with an area grader dropped in and a contour also put in. So you can add these components together to get a realistic look at what you're seeing on site. But let's keep it simple. Let's not overstress ourselves, because we are in the landscaping industry and we're going to make yards pretty. We're not really bulldozers and flying around with bobcats 8 hours a day. Our job is to look at sites and not destroy them whilst we're making it beautiful. So careful planning. But let's just look now at the contour again. I mentioned the contour. The contour is basically a height above sea level. You will never see it. It's imaginary. The only time you will see it is on a piece of paper, on a plan, as a squiggly line. And that is just a record of height above sea level. It's an ancient art that was performed with the Romans and for centuries. So it's nothing that's just popped on the market now. Contour is height above sea level, and it is often recorded on plats of survey. And from that contour, you often see at the front of a house or the back of the house a temporary benchmark or a permanent benchmark. Now, a permanent benchmark is where you'll read 780.46, height of foundations, top of foundation. That is a recorded number, height above sea level, that is documented in township records. A temporary benchmark is when I shoot a grade off the permanent and I take a reading off my surveying equipment and it says it's 9 inches lower than the permanent that I was working from. That number that I give that spot in the ground is temporary. It's temporary to the needs of what I'm doing. Once I pull that pin out the ground, it's over. It's history. So, but the plans that you're seeing are deemed legal and have to be held to that elevation. So they're very important. And what I'm going to do now is just hit the contour button. And as I said the other day, click around. And that is technically a contour. It has an elevation of 0. It means if I look at it in perspective, it's just sitting on top of the grid, going nowhere. And if I went into walkthrough, you wouldn't even know it was there. It's just horizontal on the ground. It has no height above the grid. And the grid is now our sea level. And I'll explain that. We're only working to the base of the grid, which is 0. And we work up technically from there. We can dig in a little bit, but this 0 reading is this software's permanent benchmark. So there we go. That's a contour. Now, what I'm going to do is put in another one. Ooh. That was a little quick. And I can, on this one, blow it up, and I can encompass this. Come on. Just tilt it so it doesn't interfere. The reason I'm doing that is contours can never touch each other when you're designing. In life, sometimes they do, but when you're designing, especially in this program, there's conflict. Which one of us are we working with? Which one of us are 0? Don't get your contours touching. Give it another height, which will be given to you on the site plans, and you'll see the word here, elevation, and I'm going to put this one in at 3 feet. Enter. Now you can see that 3 feet jumped me above the grid and the surrounding land. In plan, you don't see anything, but in perspective, now we've gone up 3 feet. Now, what I'm going to do is just knock this down in size and get one more in. I'm sorry, I have to keep grabbing. This is one of those tricky classes where I'm going to be clicking a lot, and the mice don't like that. I'm going to now put in another one just to see you a drastic climb. And I'm going to make this one. You see, because I didn't designate it, it always comes in at 0. Because I didn't designate anything, you can see the grid back in play. And it's saying we went from 0, climbed, sloped back down here. But once I put this in at 15 feet, you can see now what's happened. I've got 0, 3, 15. And that's what Contours does. And it's a great tool. I mean, it really is clever. And then when you're building your house, you build it on a grid level, flat, and you slide it into the contours. And we will do all that. But here's the thing. When you're working with contours, to create contours is, let's go into plan. To create contours, you literally have to, let's delete all of this. You literally have to manually do this. Now you, and don't take this the wrong way, you will not be qualified enough to get that type of reading yourself on site. That is for land surveyors, which is what I was raised in, to create contours. But there is a special tool that's out in the market that we're going to look at today called the U-level, and you're going to press buttons on a handheld device, and it's going to give you elevations that will automatically, once imported into here, turn it into a contour. It's fantastic for those of us that want to go a little deeper. Now, I agree that contouring is a lot of work, clicking, clicking, clicking. There is another way of doing it. If I go to File, Import, Picture, Next, it'll be an overlay because it's going to be a survey that's coming flat on the table. And I'm going to look for that word contour. Please be here. That wasn't the one I was looking for. Why is that not there now? It was. Oh, let me just see if I. Let's go all files just in case it's hiding from me. I have a contour here ready for you. Let's see if this one will work. Not sure. Yeah, it does. It does. Wasn't the one that I had in mind, but it will work. Now, what you're seeing here is a survey of a house to be built here, and there's the neighbor. And you can see this house has to fit into a contoured designated number. Now, I just want you to zoom in a little bit. And you will see the numbers. And just look carefully. It'll get blurry as I go in, but look carefully at this. You see the number 680, 681, and 682. That tells me that the contours are being read in 1 foot intervals. And by that, I can assume this 680 drops to 679, 678. So this was designated when they were laying it out in 1 foot intervals. It's not a big jump, jump, jump. It's a nice level slope. Now, when you're contouring, you don't enter 680 feet. You know, with that elevation button that I was putting in, start at 0 and look at this plat. And where it says 677, even at the top, look at 677 on the top, right above this arrow. That's what I'm going to start at as my 0. So 678 will be 1, 679 will be 2, 803. So I'm only going to go up 3, 4, 5 because I don't want to have Mount Everest on my screen and then start working on the top of it. I just go to basics. It's telling me some stuff. Now, what I'm going to do, I've imported this and I resize using known distance. And what I do, press that button and I look on the screen and I can see from there to there is 8 feet. I'll turn off the magnet, but if I literally left click, right click, the computer reads it as 4'1" and I'm saying it is 8 feet because that's what I'm reading on the, and now my drawing is scaled just by 1 click. And it's this button here. When you import it, click on resize using known distance, find a distance on screen, and that is how you scale your drawing, as we've done in the prior classes. Now here comes the ugly bit. Here are your contours. And we've said, you know, 672 is down here. There's water. You see this water path here? And I'm reading 670, 671, 672. Now you see, in surveying terms, When contours are close together, like you see here, that means it's steep. The closer they are in plan, the steeper the climb. Yet when I get up to here, 673 would be at the top of my mouse axis here, 674. You can see the difference between 674 and 675. It's wider, it's over, let's say 5 squares, which is 10 feet. Yet 670 to 671 is less than 2 feet. So it's going up a foot every 2 feet. As I get onto the land, it's going up a foot every 10 feet. So it's a calmer. Now, what does this mean to my design? It means if I wanted to use the contour tool in this, what I will do, and I'm going to not start at the lake here. I'm just going to pick some numbers here. And I'm going to follow. Now, I'm going to start again on that for one reason. You see my grid starts here. See where my mouse is? If I start my contour in the middle of the grid, I'll get a reading out here, but this will be 0 down here. So let's go to the edge of your blue grid and we'll start again. And let's start on the 675. So there it is there, 675. So this is my starting point. And I'm just, you can see I'm being kind of loose. Right click to stop. Give it my base level of 0. Contour again. I'm going to the next line. And I'm just clicking around, and you don't have to be too careful. And that one is 1 foot higher than the other contour. Then I'll go to another contour line, and I think I'm in this one here. There's a lot of information on the screen now. So it's going to get a little messy, but the contour is a dark line. There. And contour line. Now, we didn't give that a value, did we? So let's just drop this one in here. I got to go back and give that a value. You can go back and edit these, right click. So this one I left at 0. That should have been maybe 3. I can't remember where we were on this, or 2, maybe 2 feet. And this one I'm going to say is, I'm going to jump this one up 4 feet. I can make up numbers. It doesn't matter, but you get the point. So every contour then has to have a value. And then you ditto this all the way down. Now, what I'm just going to do to speed this up, I was going to copy. Best not. This is an important class for you. So come down here, and I'm just going to make numbers up here. 6 feet. Go here. And this is the laborious side of it. It's not boring, but it is. It's touch and go. And I'll do just 2 more, and that's enough to get the concept over. So I'm going to make up a number here. I'm going to make this one 8 feet. Where was I? Options. 8 feet. And then I will now go my last contour. Right click, and I'm going to make this 12 feet just for the heck. But generally, you can see I didn't start at 670 feet above the grid. I started at 0, and I looked at the difference between the grids, and I just calculated what this surveyor broke his increments into. And they generally stay in an increment from start to finish. So they won't start at 1 and then have 5 in between. So let's see what this means in perspective. You see, there was the riverbank down here. And there is my contour as I was going 0. And let's click on them and see if numbers come up. 1 foot, look there on the top of the screen. 2 foot, 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, 12 foot. And that's the contours I put on here. Now, what I'm going to do in this mode here is just click on the overlay, and you see the word transparency. If I dissipate the transparency, you will start to see the contours more prominent. The transparency is the survey is under there, But what's beautiful about this is it's actually taken the survey, correctly put it to an elevation, but you can still see it. Is it clear enough to put a house in there? Maybe not. So you have to go back. There's your house. Now go to plan. And what you're going to do, because the drawing is scaled now, I'm going to go to my building tab, put in the house, and I'm going to just click around. Now there's something I'm going to show you here. I'm going to do this twice because this is a little tricky of a house. And I'm going to show you why I'm doing it twice. Made a mistake there. That's just an error. And why did I make a mistake? It's because I'm trying to pin corners of a house at an angle to my eyesight, to my desk, to my wrist. And you can see I'm not really being flippant with this. I am struggling. But the good thing is, it's going to look awful. But the good thing is, it needs editing. I can see my lines are slightly not good. But look at it in perspective. Again, remember the days of pen and paper. Look at this. Now, this roof is on the ground. Is it going to be staying like that? I don't think so, because you're going to look at the blueprint or even look at the house, you know, when you're at there, and you're going to see, well, if the corner of that house is 12 feet above the ground, you know, you just got to knock this up. And the wall height is from the lowest point. So you got to do a little bit of math when you're doing this. But you can see that I have successfully put in a house on a survey within minutes. Now, what am I going to do to make this easier for myself? Go back to plan. Click on the house and delete it. And I'll tell you why. If you go to the survey, click on the survey, right? You see this word angle right here. If I slide the angle, you can get your house to sit on a grid. It doesn't affect the contour. It just gives me a better line to trace because I like holding down the shift button, and you might like the magnet. So if I do house now and I go to my first starting point, hold down the shift button, look at me going in straight lines now instead of an odd angle. And now I can design. The house has not changed. The contours have not changed. It's in perspective with the contours that I took in. And you will see that by changing the angle of the paper to go with parallel grid lines, I'm a lot quicker. And look at that. Again, throw away pen and paper. Look at it in perspective. And again, it's the same house. It hasn't affected, as I said, the elevations. It's just a lot clearer and precise. And is it the house? Click on that, go to brick, and you can pick a brick, any brick you want. And there's your house. You raise it accordingly. You might take a reading off the blueprints, how high the gutter line is above this point here. And by raising the house up, you can designate that one point. And if I do that, it will affect all the other points in the house. So if I go to here and just jockey up, you know, you can see how it affects the rest of the house. And do we have walkouts? And we talked about walkouts the other day. And if I had a walkout, you know, I would use my area grader and dig out from there. So that's what contours is all about. And if you want to put in a driveway, and I'm just going to say the driveway is around here. What I do, because it's a slope, not all driveways, like we live in Illinois. When I say we, I live in Illinois. And Illinois is very flat. You go out, gosh, all the way to Colorado and it's still flat. Go west of the Rockies and you got mountains. They don't dig out the mountains to put the driveway into their home. They follow the Earth's curvature with that. And how do I do that? if I'm let's say, let's put this garage door in here, and drop it in here. And I'm just making this up. This is where the driveway is going. So slammed right between there. I'd have to adjust the house, obviously, too. We talked about that. But if you want to put a driveway on the surface of the existing land, what you do is you can go to the word landscape region, and you can, I'll do it in plan. Let's see if I can do it in plan, if I can find the door again. There's the door, I believe, right there. So I'm just going to do this. I'm in region. I'm going to straighten the lines because we've said it 100 times. I'm just going to stop it here, you know. Let's just say the driveway stops there. I'm going to come back and straighten some points up here. Parking bay. Now, I'm just showing you that in mulch. Now I can go to every edit points and I can click on every one of them, and you can either go straight to the curve type before you click any points, and I can straighten up any line I want just by clicking on it. Go to the Bezier curve down here under curve type, and you can see I can start to play around with different points and straighten them out if I want. Entirely up to you. But what it means is, in perspective, I haven't carved the earth up. I'm staying on the earth's surface here. I would have to put an area grader just right there by the garage door to get a flat entrance into the house. But all I do is go to my mulch and click on a Unilock brick. And let's just pick a CAD, first time we've done it. You can see I can lay a brick right on the surface. I'm not cutting the earth out. And that's the value of contours. So hopefully you can see, if you get a survey from a homeowner, you know, you've got the house, you've got the elevations, you've got the earth. Now, why I say I would use, let me just pull this out of the way here. No, I picked the wrong thing. Look at that, silly me. Take this. I'm just going to delete this. Here, you can see you're obviously not going to get your car in there. So you need to have an earth grader right here in that area to flatten it, you know, into your terrain, the area grader. You know, you're going to have to just go areas and maybe flatten them out a little bit. It'll jump up 6 feet, but it'll get you level. And that's, you know, that's what you'll do with the area graders. And you could go to here, because you're not carving up the land. You can, you know, you can just go to the taper and get a nice straight line into the garage there. Let's take the, there you go. So you know, I've simply changed the elevation right at that door there, but it did not change any elevations out here. It just slightly affects this area here, which I might put in retaining walls there. And that would be another area grader that I would go to, and I'd go to here, and I'm doing this in perspective, so it's not smart to do it this way because it's going to maybe jump some of my house around. But there you go. I could go to this button here, give me a nice, I'm just going to push that in a little bit. So then I go shape options, copy shape, building, retaining wall, shape options, page shape. There's my wall. I can cut this wall out just by stepping down. We've done this in the other classes. And, you know, I'll raise the one at the back to fit. Edit points, stepped. See what this one does here. I don't know if it's going left or right off that point. There, it's going down. I hope. There you go. So that's how you can, you know, manipulate. You can see there I use contours, and I've used area grader in front of the door, and I've retained soil here. And look at it matching the contour perfectly at the back. So it's just practice. It really is practice, and it comes natural to me because I grew up in the surveying industry. And as I say, it does come natural. So that's making your own contours. It's importing contours, and it's playing with the other tools in the terrain button. But let's look at what is going to be really interesting for us today. I'm going to show you a combination now of using a tool called the U-level. No, I won't say that. Right, let's get into this. And I have a PDF, and the PDF is from another source, and it had to be downsized to get it into this screen for you today. So it's a little bit fuzzy. Some pictures, other pictures are better. But I'm going to show you. What this device does. First of all, that is the U-level there. It's the size of a shopping bag of groceries. It's probably lighter. It is lighter than a shopping bag of groceries. It's a hollowish device. That box houses this coil that's filled with a liquid. And that's all that box is there for, to house this wire. And what really is transmitting information is this box on the top to this awaiting box that is on the ground or in your hand. Why is the coil out of the box? Well, because it's light, if you tug on the coil while it's still connected to the device, your readings will get distorted. This box, once placed on the ground in place to reach the points that you think you can get, mustn't be disturbed. There are stake holes, you pound right on the handles there. So this thing will stay as designated. Now, if the carpenter comes by and doesn't want to hit your measuring device and picks it up and moves it out the way, done. You have to start all over again. So that's why I pull the wire out, and then I can play gently with the wire without tugging on the base here. So that's what that is about. I also use cones. You can see here. Why do I use cones? It's because I take a drone with me, and I'll go up and I'll capture where I place the drones and turn it into a survey, which you're going to see how this all works when I bring it in on the screen. So this device that we were talking about, the one on the box, is talking to the device in my hand or on the ground, and it works with Bluetooth. And this will be on your cell phone. I just do this I fly the drone with my cell phone. At the same time, I click buttons on my cell phone to take elevation readings. It's very clever. And that's it there. It's got a Bluetooth link up. There's instructions. Sorry for the blurriness, but it's got instructions. But press this, plus that, and you will, on your phone, you will be in Bluetooth mode. This is a holding device. Again, the instructions you can see here on top. That's all the instructions you need to operate the U-level. And you have a 0 button there to start your 0 readings. And this is a pedestal magnetically attached to the measuring device. Once you start with that pedestal, it's purely for the point that if you don't want to keep bending down and putting the instrument on the ground, you can actually twist the pedestal to lock it, put the device on top, and you can place the pedestal as you go around. Because it's up in the air, the difference in elevations between the points, which is what you're trying to get, what is the difference between this point and that point? It is immaterial. As long as the staff, pedestal, does not move or take it off, you can't switch it. You can't use the pedestal and put the device down and expect consistent readings, one or the other. I generally don't use the pedestal. And there it is. There's the device on the ground, and there it is on my iPhone. and we're in agreement. I'm reading what's on my screen. So the Bluetooth is working, that's on the ground. I'm clicking a button and it comes up on my screen. And here's my stations. And you can see here, I'm putting this on the ground and I reset it to 0. And even if you've got a fraction of an inch in there, it doesn't matter. Because when you come back, you're going to do a circuit and come back to where you started, and the readings should be the same. If I'm reading there on the screen, and I believe it's a 16th of an inch. Let me go up here and pull this in. Yeah, you see there? If I'm reading a 16th of an inch as my starting point, fine. As long as I come back and there's a 16th of an inch on the screen at my final reading. That means it was a perfect circuit and I started and finished on the same point. Now, if I come back and there's an 8-inch difference, something's gone wrong. You have to redo it again. So there's my position 1. Let me get out of there. I hope this will let me move. Yeah. So I literally go around the site. Here's position 4, and that reads 3 feet 5 inches, 15, 16. So nearly 3 feet 6 inches. But it is 3 feet and 6 inches over my first reading, which is 0. That is now my grid. My first reading is my grid. So this is 3 feet above it. And what it's going to do, you're going to walk around in a circuit. There's my first reading, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. You'll see 10 in yellow. It's because 10 is where I will finish, and it's on top of where I took my first reading. But what is interesting, once you take these readings, and I'm going to show you how to do it, then import the survey of the property, the survey warps to the readings. Just as you saw me setting out the contours, the survey will warp and morph towards the readings that are coming in. And this is an example of how I would go to a house. I'd put the cones out on the driveway. Be nice, be nice. And I'm going to set my drone up in the air. I'll just knock this down so we can probably get a smaller screen. There we go. There we go. So look at this here. Position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I went in a circuit. I took 10 readings, and my readings then, once I collate the readings, I click a button on my iPhone and I send them to this software. And when I open up the software, this is what I'm going to see. So there's my reading by the drones. And this is great information for your crew. When I put a package together, I tell them this is where we started, and I get them to locate my starting point. I'm in the middle of the drive here, but in general, in backyard patios, my starting point would always be the center of the sliding door at the back. So the guys know where to start, and it will be right at the top of the stoop. There's one, and they'll get a photograph from the drone, and they can plot it all between them. So that's what the value of the drone and the cones is. Now, when I have gone round, and you see this button up here, this is the button you're clicking to send. It's the measuring device. This is what you're doing to get your readings. Once I go in a circuit, I can see this button, view readings. And here's my readings. Remember my 1, 2, 3, 4 around the driveway? There's all the readings with what they call the Z, XYZ, Z. For us non-Augiites, it's a Z. There's a value to it. Remember I said I was a 1/4 inch, inaccuracy off 0, no biggie, because I finished on a 1/4. But these readings here, you don't have to worry about. That is it talking to a GPS system and gives you coordinates. Don't worry about it. This is what you need. And I think at one point, remember I said where I was 3'5", at position 5, maybe, I don't know where I was, 3'5" above. Look at my mouse where it's flickering at the bottom of the screen. I'm 3'5" above my starting point. And these are all in relation to position 1. This is 6 1/4 inches above P1. So now the interesting thing, when you look down on this and this information is going automatically to your software on your computer, it gives you the horizontal distance between the points. So you're not going out with a tape measure. You're not going out with a transit, a theodolite, which might utilize 2 people, the reader, the one holding the staff. This is all done with you, with a cell phone and a light box that weighs about 3 or 4 pounds. And you can do all your readings yourself. So that's the beauty of it. Now, if you have fat thumbs on a winter's day and you take a reading and you're looking at it when you get back and think, nah, that was not needed in this reading, you can go to this, because this is how, on my device, when I view readings, there's a button that you can press to send it, email it. You email it to your laptop or your desktop. And when you get to your office, it's in the format of an Excel sheet attached to your sending format, which is an email. Open it up, and it is, you can name it. And I open it up and I think, oh, I don't really need that one, so I can delete it. And now I'm just going to import this, and you'll see me do it live in a few minutes. I'm just going to import this, and this is the data. When it comes into my computer, this is the data that comes in. And you can see here, that reading there might have been a fat thumb one. Just delete it, take it out of the way. I can also corrupt the information and edit a point. Let's say if this is the garage door here, and they should be very close in elevation. 3'6" I'm reading here, 3'6" there. For example, if there's a pebble in the way, or a bit of dirt, and you get 3'8", not a big deal. But you can go back and edit this, because that might have been an error. You can do it on the Excel sheet as well. So here now I've got an outlay of my survey. I copy the outlay, paste. Now there's the driveway, and now I can get a definitive measurement in square footage of the driveway. And there is the survey going down. It was actually my house. And there's the driveway. I just threw it on there, and there's the contouring lines, and there's the driveway. And you can see the point that you see in this picture is it angles the topography, the picture of the topography, be it a survey or an aerial photograph. It's going to form that picture like a Christmas present you're wrapping. It's going to be perfect. So that's what's really good about this. You can actually see the elevation in real time. So I'm going to jump into this now and show you how to do it. Again, there's the contours, and there's the survey being warped downhill to grid. And that's basically what this is about. And you're going to see me do it live. This is a different project that I was doing for the college. So let's just get out of this here. And I'm going into this word here, UTech ingredients. Now, remember I showed you a picture when we started of a site. Let's go into plan mode so we can get this pinned down a bit better. I went to the factory there, and we were going to play around and put in a patio at the back door, just mathematically. That is the aerial photograph. And what I do on site is I edit the photograph, and I put big rings around the cones. So when I import that in, I import it in as a survey, as an overlay. I can literally get the distance. I know the door was 3 feet wide. Resize using known distance, 3 feet wide. I might have measured this point here at 15 feet. That's how I scale the drawing. The sidewalk could have been 3 feet wide, whatever. The length of anything on there gives me my scale, and I put that into the data. So this is just a doctored photograph of what the drone took by me adding these big red circles so I can visually see when I'm designing. So let's go back into perspective. What else do I want to show you? These are the readings that were imported as a CSV file. I want to try and just zoom in a little bit there. They're the readings that came in that I emailed, and it comes in as a CSV file. We'll go through that, but there's all my readings. Remember the 1/16 of an inch that I started with up here? There it is on my last reading. Perfect, perfect circuit with no disturbances. Good. So what I do then is what you're going to see here in pictures. If I just come into this picture here, there's that swale. There's the swale that is in this area here. You see the swale coming down? And that's me with the drone, flying the drone, and it takes a shape for me to look at. Now, there's the factory, the back of the factory somewhat, and here's the patio that my client wants, and I'm going to show them how to do it. So I am going to start this now as a new design. So bear with me. I'm hoping all is going to be working smoothly here. I'm going to take this out of the way and not close you out. I'm going to close this down. Right. What I'm going to do is go to this new design. And I'm going to import my readings that I took off my cell phone with the U-level that I emailed to the Uvision. So I'm going to file, import. You see the word CSV. It's down, 5th down, terrain elevation. I'm going to click on it, and I have to go and find the one. And I named it UTech, and I left it on desktop, and it better be here, or I'm going to call the police. There, try that one. Hit open. There's the readings. Remember 1616? Here it is. There it is. Now, there are the readings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As soon, I haven't touched this thing but the mouse. Look, it contours it for me instantly in 3-inch increments. I can pick the increments that it comes in at. And I'll show you that before we do it. As you import it, it'll say what increments do you want. 3 inches is tighter than a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. So, you know, in this example, I came in 3 inches. It's going to give me more lines. If I said every 12 inches, I would get 1 in 4 of these readings on the screen here. So that's what the increments are, 0, 3, and it tells me, you can see all my stations. What I do then is I want to put the building parallel to my readings. So I'm just going to tweak this. See what I've done there? I've just tweaked my readings to go parallel with the building. It doesn't change anything that's going to happen on site. And then I'll go to my building tab, put in the house. It is a factory, but let's call it a house for the client. And I'm just going to do this. Now look at it in perspective. There we have it. Remember the swale? Look at all this. It's instant. It's instant. You're not a surveyor. All you're doing is a finger capturing site person. We can all do it. All the years in college came down to this, which is great, but you still need to explain to you. So I have some value, I guess. But look at that. There's your contours slipping down to the grid of 0. And look at it in plan. You'll see 0 is right here by the door. You'll see it again over here, but in perspective, there's the 0, and there's the 0 by the door. It's got everything planned. And what's really good about it, if I look at it in plan, what I do is I go to the word column, and I'll drop a column at the front door like I did with the other pictures. I'm going to be blatant, and I'm just going to change the color so you can see it. Edit materials, solid color, red, okay, okay, red. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And I'm just going to go around all these different things and leave a red flag marker, paste in place. Turn off the magnet. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place. So you just have to go around and do the mundanes, but believe me, if this is mundane, you'd rather this than go out with measuring devices and recalculate with angles and slopes and corrections. And anybody can do this. You know, you can, I hope I didn't grab that. Don't know where I edit, copy, edit, paste. I probably didn't go back to where there we go. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place. Edit, paste in place, go back to here. We're getting around a little quicker now. Edit, paste in place. Just put one there. Oh, don't be naughty, don't be naughty. I hope that didn't grab. I think I don't know if I did, but anyway, you get the point. You go to every station, edit, paste in place, and you drop them at the stations just to see. So what's that look like in perspective? Probably got one too many in there. Pull this one out. But remember my design where I had the aerial with all the red rings. That's it. They're all the red rings that you saw from my drone. They're all the stations. And I'm now mapping them on the site. Now, what's really good about this is if you go into plan, and let's say your client gives you some indication of what they want in the backyard. What I'm going to do is go to a patio button. If I click a patio, and I'm just going to be very, very flippant with this design, nothing earth-shattering, beautiful with it. I'm just going to say this is roughly the area they want me to address. Now, in plan, you can see the patio. In perspective, you can only see, remember when it was 0 in this area? That's all you can see. Because the earth is covering 0, which is your base. Now, if I get a little funky with this, go back to plan, and I go to my edit points, round corners, and I'm just going to do some little bit of trickery in here. Nothing crazy. Look at it in perspective. You still won't see what I've done. But if I go to shape options, copy shape, go to landscape, or terrain, sorry, area grader, that famous button of mine, shape options, pay shape, you can see what's going to happen now because it jumps up automatically to the 6 feet that we've seen throughout the course here. And I'm going to bring this height taper up, but let's bring it down to grade first. I'm dropping this whole patio to an area grader that is going to match. I'm at 0, and you can see now I've dropped the patio right on the ground. And if I go to the area grader and go to 100, you can see the sharp cut in the soil. If I went the other way, I could smooth out let's say the contour there, the slope. But what that really means, and this is where you now have an intelligent conversation with your client. Okay, Mrs. Jones, ooh, I should have done that. Just go one more back. I have smoothed out the surface here, but you can see that all this water is going to drain onto your patio. When we designed with pen and paper and we sold jobs, it's hard to convey that to a client, but now you can show them exactly what the ramifications are. I'm $32,000 because I am going to recontour and reswale your property, so this elevation at the moment will not spill onto your patio. It makes me the intelligent contractor, because the person that might have come in before, who's at 27,000, didn't allow for that. Now I come in at 34,000 and Paddy allowed for it. So the first presentation on the table, although cheaper, doesn't quantify what's needed on this project. And here's the big thing. When does the client want to know that what we agreed upon is not going to do the job? It's not enough to do the job. Do we want to tell them at the end and expect them to pay for that? Or do we advance in the middle of it and upset them because we should have caught that? Or go up front, present the numbers as they lay on the table and explain it to them. You're an honest contractor, you're explaining where their budget is going, and yes, you're more expensive, but this is why. So if I go back to my height taper now, I want to earn more money, so I'm going to build a wall. There's the cut. And what you can do, go into plan, and I'm going to go into walkthrough just for a second. You'll lose the contours, but you can see the cut in the ground. That shadow there has to be retained. Either we slope it away and do the drainage, swale on the outside, or we build what we want to, which is a seat wall. So what I'm going to do is go to my button, shape options, copy shape. I'm going to go to a nice tight wall. I'll try and get some of this out the way into the building tab, and go to the word retaining wall, shape options, paste shape. There you can see a perfectly fitting wall around the property. We don't need it in all the areas, but sometimes you might want to build a seat wall. They might want this. And you can then go into the point where edit points, insert points. And I can then go to that point there and knock it down. Oh, silly me. I made my first mistake today. Go to the word stepped. You see up here, stepped, hit stepped, go to this point. As I say, sometimes you have to go left and right. Not always clear which one to, depending on where you're looking at it, as you spin and rotate. But there's your little exit out of there. I can step heights down. Let's say I can drop a little bit as we go around. We don't want to. I can bring this one down. But there we have a beautiful, look how tight that is, right against the cap. Nice. And we can also insert a point here and here. And I think it'll be the opposite as I bring it down. Of course, if I go edit points out, if I want, I can put it in a door here, which is my original reading. And that shows you how you can explain to a client, you know, what you need to do here to protect the property, why your bidding is of a certain rate. And also you click on the buttons and it will tell you your square footage right down here, your retaining wall, your linear measurements. But I measured my wall separately because we deducted for points out here. But that basically shows you in a nutshell, you know, what all those elevations from the drone, the picture from the drone, the elevations I took with a hand device on the ground, email them to the software. instantly it becomes contoured. You didn't see me clicking these lines in here. It's converted for me with the program. So that's basically what this whole thing is all about. This is now the U level talking to Uvision. And in plan, that's the data you're seeing there. In walkthrough, that's it there. And you can see there's a hill out, you know, I have to adjust these walls obviously, but you can see the swale that was in there and the hill behind it, because the soil touched the back of the wall. And if we go back to, let me get this out of the way. If we go back to my screen and look at the pictures initially, there's the swell. There's where I put the patio and I cut around and came back to here. And there's the earth coming back to attack the patio. So I had to dig all this out to put it in, and I had to reroute or build a seat wall to divert the water. And again, the red cones that you saw in the ground, that's them in raw mode. That's the drone taking the picture. And then I literally accept the picture, and with my iPhone, I put circles around all the points. And then I import the drawing in to start working on it. And let's look at that UTech. Let me just save this in case we need to come back to it. Let's go to this one. There's the original ingredients that I called it. There's the patio, and there's the original photograph from the drone. There's me editing it. There's me receiving the data that was taken off the U level, and they're all stations. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I made the stations visibly for you to see there with columns and numbers on the top, so they correlate to the photograph, and off we go. And this is basically all that information on the picture thrown into 3D, and it really does give you everything that you took on site instantly. And I mean, I'm explaining this to you, and I think we've done this in 20 minutes, but for me to pull it in, it's about a 10-minute overhaul of getting all the data in. Ray,
Paddy, do you have to have a drone, Paddy?
No, you don't have to have a drone, but the reason I do the drone is purely for information for crew, because as we all know, now I'm unemployed. I'm, you know, I don't want to be on the job all the time. And let's think of it. I mean, you send your crew out in the morning. Let's say you're successful even, and you have multi-crews. That doesn't mean you're successful. It means you're busy. Do you have to be at every job at 9 o'clock to start them off? All I do is give my foreman of that crew, this is the information you're going to get. You're getting the photograph, you're getting the data, you're getting the blueprint, you get this ingredients that I call it, the ingredients for Mrs. Jones' job. And that's basically it. You don't need the drone, but boy, why not? The drone is no different to an aerial survey that you get with Google Earth. You can actually Google Earth in and do the same thing that I've done here without a drone. I just do it so there's no questions when a crew arrives on site. They can see the door in this picture here. Starting, if it's a door, they know it's right in the middle of the door. Any questions in chats that I have to be aware of? I'll try and address something. I don't want to. Okay, thank you, Ray.
We're just waiting for some information on the U level on Android. I believe so.
Yeah, it is currently out now. They just have updated the Android system to work with the U level. Okay, Kristen. Oh boy, I wish I was selling them. You know, I'll get you the information for it. Now, again, You can go on, Ray, am I correct? You can go onto the Unilock site for a link to the U level now,
Yeah,
or?
yeah. Actually, I placed it into the chat already. It's up above
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
we'll fire off a link to the tutorial on how to use it for an Android as well.
Yeah, it's there are built-in tutorials as well. You're just seeing me as an experienced contractor using it, but I don't want to labor how to use the U level because it's self-explanatory. There's only two buttons on it basically, and if you watch a tutorial, you link it up to your Wi-Fi, which is your phone, and you then press it on the ground, and you have a button on your iPhone, and I'm going to say iPhone, and you click it. And it takes a reading. Move the little red box over, click it. It's doing X, Y, and Z every time you click it. And then when you get to view your readings, there's a button on the end, an arrow like an airplane. Click on that, and it's the email format going out to your laptop. And that's all it is. Now, I did see a question that I flew by here, and I can't answer all of these. And I thank you for the question. But do I recommend a drone? Well, yes and no. When drones first came out, I had a big engine thing. Man, it was bigger than my car, and it would kill you if it hit you, and it nearly did. It took off one day, heavy, and the battery wobbled and came disconnected from my phone from about 300 feet in the air. Could have been very, very dangerous because it took off at a speed that I saw on Google complaints, 70 miles an hour. That's crazy. So I actually went back. I heard it hit the forest, maybe a mile away, half a mile away, across a lake. Yeah, I went and got it. It took me maybe 8 months to find it. And it was smashed in pieces, and I put it back together. I was very annoyed with that, but I ended up, and that was about $2,000 a few years back. I ended up going into, I'm an Apple person, and my Apple salesman showed me a drone that they were selling in the Apple store, and it was brilliant. It fit in the palm of my hand, and I absolutely love them. So Apple sell them. And they're just for about $300-400 work way better. So you'll find them in your Apple store. If you want to email me, I'll show you the picture of the box that I bought, and you'll be delighted with it. It's a Mavic Pro. They're called Mavic Pros, about $399. Well worth it. Can I use pictures? That can be a Google Earth picture. It doesn't have to be a drone picture. But I import all that data just for my own use and my crew's use. So I can't answer all of these here, but
so Paddy, I think anybody that has a complex site that they've got to do a design on, I think that the U level will save them hours and hours and improve accuracy. You'll know, you'll have a greiter idea and understanding of your excavation requirements and your fill requirements. So I just noticed on here, I got a couple of questions in regards to versions. The Landscape Architect 2020, I believe, will do this as well. The big difference between the two pieces of software is that the Uvision is a Unilock product centric, but it has also extra UCARA modulars. It has the function of being able to create a CAD-like drawing when you're finished, and the Uvision also allows you to put banding in walls, which the Architect doesn't. But as far as elevations is concerned, that should work perfectly both ways.
Yeah, and the other good thing about the Unilock version that you can download, you get Ray, Paddy, and Ogie. And that's, I'll be honest with you, that's what I'm here for. I'm a Unilock boy, and I help Unilock. I can't help everybody, and it just it's a family mold. If you're with Uvision, U-Level, you got Paddy to help you. You know how to get a hold of me. I'll answer your questions. Sometimes it's not instant, but here's the one thing I was going to mention. I do get tons and tons of emails, and I get people asking me questions about how to do this, this, and this. If you are asking me a question, put a bit of time into your question, maybe with a sketch or a photograph, so I can see exactly what you're looking at on the screen. Because describing it can be, at the end of the day, it's very, very hard to keep your energy levels up when you're really struggling to understand the question. And I'm not knocking you, believe me, I'm not knocking you on that. It's just me. I have so much information in my head by the end of the day. If I had a picture, so much easier to help you. But that's just a personal point.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paddy. And I think now with the options of emailing photos and screen grabs, I think it's pretty easy to convey a message. But like you say, just put some time into the question. That'll really help Paddy. You can imagine, with having 300-400 participants, as we've had in past sessions, after the session, that poor Paddy's computer starts to bloat a little bit from all the emails. In any case, Paddy, is there anything else that you wanted to cover off specific to this U-Level and the grading yet?
Yes, well, not really in this mode. I want to keep this as simple as possible. But, and again, we'll touch base on what you said there, Ray. I love the information it gives me, because when I use the area grader, when you design with pen and paper on plan, this area grader really shows you've got some digging to address here. That brings you into retaining walls. It makes you a better contractor for pricing. You get all the tools, project material list, and you've got your retaining walls, your patio. And here's a little thing. I hope this will work now here. This lad here, if I go into walkthrough, I'm hoping my Augie will walk for me. Let's see. Yeah, see there? You see Augie walking now? And if I can position this, if I showed it to you on the slope, and I'm sorry, if I showed it to you on the slope, you'll see him walking up. Watch this. See the step? Now he's walking up. And sometimes I leave a model in there to show the client there's a change of elevation that we need to address. So little tricks like that are very good. But I'm going to put this to the side here, and I'm just going to end up with something that I really wanted to show people with the photographs of the images. I'm going to go back into this. And we'll leave it at that. We're going to stray slightly. I'm just going to show you, if I had time, I was going to do it when we started. I'm going to import a picture. Next. It's going to be a picture. Next. Desktop. And I'm going to try and find these verticals. I hope I can find it. And if not, I'll just create the same one. Oh, come on. Why don't they just all show up? It didn't work the last time. It looks like it doesn't want to talk to me this time, but well, I'll get it sorted out. I'm going to show you how to build a house out of paper. So ignore that for now. It didn't work. I'll have to reset that. I'm going to show you how to build a house on paper. Remember when we brought in a blueprint and we had the front of the house or a JPEG? You could take 4 pictures, front, back, and 2 sides, and I bring them in 1, 2, front, back, side, side. So I can build a house out of paper, out of the blueprint that they send me. And I drop a roof on it, and literally they're looking at their house in blueprint mode, all from 4 pictures. And it saves me recreating a complicated house. But pictures aren't loading. for some reason. So we'll leave that to another advanced class lesson.
Okay.
So I think that should get us through today, Ray.
Good. Good.
And with questions, by all means, get a hold of me, and we'll go from there.
I appreciate everybody for coming and hanging in there. We had tremendous retention on our group. Pretty much everybody that started in this session is here till the end, and that's great. I have been recording this session, and so